Well, hello again, sports fans. This is my latest attempt to do a range check of the Quantum Overlord 6 antenna 5.8 GHz video receiver. My Tek-Sumo, which I've been doing the earlier tests on, is on the bench at the moment. The autopilot's misbehaving, so for this attempt I've dusted off my old VAS Specter and we'll see how she goes. I haven't flown it for about 6 months, but it's basically got the same gear as the Tek-Sumo, same video transmitter, same autopilot, so yeah, it should be relatively close. So this is what the beastie looks like. It's earlier tests I've had it out to 4 kilometres so far, but run into problems with the plane, so I think it's got more in it, but yes, only time will tell. So the launch goes pretty well, given that I haven't flown it for 6 months. I was a bit concerned before I threw it up that the amount of throw in the control surface compared to the Tek-Sumo, but it goes around quite well in manual mode, so this is in manual. I've got quite a bit of expo in the control, so I guess that's helping a fair bit. But yes, it's quite steady. I'm in complete control of it. It's looking pretty good. So I just do 3 or 4 circuits of the field just to re-familiarise myself with the controls and think about testing the autopilot functions. So the first thing I tested the stabilisation mode, so I noticed that when I do put it into stabilised mode, it starts to lose a little bit of altitude. It's a bit hard to tell the extent of the problem because it's quite windy today and the wind's quite gusty, so the plane's getting buffeted a bit. Anyway, I decided it's okay and slip it into return to home, and it immediately drops its nose and then levels out, but still seems to be losing a bit of altitude. And again, I'm not sure whether it's the settings or whether it's the wind. The wind's coming from behind me as I'm flying now. I'm just coming around to turn into it. I've increased the throttle to see if that helps, but and it does. But what it does is it makes the return to home circle quite large, because I've got the gain set to to limit the angle that the plane can take. But a big circle is not really a problem. It seems to be relatively stable in altitude on the upwind leg as it's going now, and we're just turning downwind. And it's coming down, so I've got to add a little bit of elevator in to maintain the altitude on the downwind leg. So on this circuit I've added a bit more throttle in, and as you can see it's taken the plane quite wide out over the road, and but it's still coming back. I must admit I probably should have reset the home position before I put it up. It's been 6 months at least since the home position has been set, but I didn't, so it doesn't really make any difference at this point. So all this mucking around has taken about 5 minutes, so I'm not going to be able to make any serious inroads into the long distance record. On top of that, the digital video recorder has gone on strike, so I'm not getting any recordings of the telemetry coming from the plane, so if I do get into trouble I'm not going to have the GPS coordinates. So anyway, I decide I'll fly out 3 or 4 kilometres just to see how things are going and come back fairly quickly. So I'm just heading out to the left of Mount Tennant, just following a path in between the road and the Goodwood-Digby River there on the left. So at the moment I've got a bit of a upward angle to the plane, so you can't see much of the terrain, but it's gradually getting up to about 300 metres, and I'm at just over 1.5 kilometres, I think, at this point in time. So everything's going fine. I am having to hold up elevator, of course, because I'm trying to gain altitude, but once I reach the 300 metres, which is around about now, I level off, and I do have to hold a little bit of elevator, but not a heck of a lot. So at this point I'm just over 1.5 kilometres away. Everything's going okay. The video is relatively good, but as I'm coming up to 2 kilometres, it starts to go a bit fuzzy, and I've got to rotate the antenna a little bit to get it back. As I'm passing 2.5 kilometres, the video drops out completely, and I'm having to move the antenna around. I get flashes of the picture, but it never comes back completely, and I eventually put it into return to home mode and cross my fingers. So as you can see from this video, it doesn't actually ever come home, and I'm not quite sure what happened, but an hour later I've gone out with my walkie-talkie seeing if I can pick up my lost model locator beacon. And for a pleasant change, it wasn't too hard to find. The walkie-talkie picked up the beacon 3 kilometres down the road, and I made 3 stops to zero in on it and actually spotted it from the road laying in the paddock. So it's pretty beat up, but it doesn't look like it's fatal. Certainly no worse than the last time I repaired it. That's the little beacon that I use. So it's twice it's found this model for me, so it's well and truly paid for itself. But yeah, I don't really know what went wrong at all. It looks like it lost a fair bit of altitude while I was mucking around trying to recover the picture, and then when I've slipped it in to return to home, it's just stalled on the turn for some reason, and I can only put that down to the bad trims that it was demonstrating when I was doing the initial testing. So I just might need to be a little bit more careful. So unfortunately, I'm still not in a position to be able to give a definitive view on how well the Overlord works. And given that both my FPV planes are out of action now, it might be a little while before I am in a position to give a reliable review